your faces back to Pommy and Oz. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and welcome back to another preview of a game. If you want to become a member, you can do that. Link is in the description. It costs a cup of coffee a month. We do a members live stream. We'll be doing one next weekend. So if you're involved, you've got to be in it to win it. We'll be doing a giveaway, so stay tuned for the updates. So let's get straight into this big game for the Blues against the Sydney Swans. And Carlton need a win. And it feels like every week the pressure builds, but Carlton have lost the last three. Went down last week to our fierce rivals Collingwood. In between that, we had the Doggies and the Lions. With our big win against the Eagles. On the other hand, obviously Sydney, they're just below us in the ladder, 12th place. Win fortuitously versus North Melbourne. It has to be said, if North Melbourne could count, they'd be fine. But then themselves have had trouble. And since that Geelong game where they got battered in the rematch nearly by 100 points, the wheels have well and truly fallen off them. Now it's at the G, at the SCG, and that is the small forwards hunting ground, isn't it? And what is good news for us? Their small forwards haven't been in the greatest of form. Their injury list is getting bigger by the day. About half a list out with concussion, about half a list out with soft tissue injuries. This is a game where the Blues, if they're serious, couldn't ask for a better game to be up against this mob when they're struggling themselves. Let's look at the tail of the tape then. And I want you to look at this. 60.3% of the time, Sydney Swans kick. They are a very kick-heavy and a territory-based side. They're a very interesting side as well when you look at the makeup. They're fourth for tackles in game, which is really important. But they are susceptible themselves to the unforced errors. But as we take a look at these, Carlton have got the green, the better in the majority of the skill sets. Disposal efficiency and kicking efficiency being two of them, which people see. Inside 50s, obviously there. The rebound 50 rate, Carlton staggering 76.3% of the time. And inside 50 comes in, they get it out. 15.5 metres per disposal. Very similar matchup. The contested possession differential, though, well in Carlton's favour. Clearance differential. This is where the battle's going to be won between both of these sides. They both pride themselves around this area. And Carlton, incidentally, the third most dominant side in the AFL, getting their hands first to the ball, which is a real big stat, considering that our scores from stoppage and clearance are so down from last year. We're a better marking side, more marks than 50. And I want you to come down to here. We talked about the tackles. They lead that. The goals, 12.6 to 11.2. But this is where Carlton really struggle. 21.7 of our inside 50s become a goal, which is very poor. And the chance creation, we're having more shots, and that is going to be king to Carlton. Carlton don't get the ball as close to goal as many of the other sides who have high ratios. So that is going to be something to look out for. The hit-outs, though, with Peternet signing for 4 years, you can see why Carlton exceptionally dominant in that avenue. But how are they going to win it? What are we looking for? Last 2 weeks, we've been really good at this, picking players out. And for me, what the boys have got to do is stick to their system. They've got to run hard off the ball. They've got to stretch it. But the most important part of it for me is getting some meters gained from them clearances and them stoppages. Way too many handballs. Carlton, one of the lowest sides in the comp for handball meterage gained post a handball. And it's that running. And the problem is that stat through the quarters fluctuates as Carlton start to really get comfortable in their system. And that's going to be a big one here because both of these sides here are under a shitload of pressure at the moment. Both of them have got their own issues. Both of them are in the media for the wrong reasons. And Sydney have had a week off, potentially purely because they got that snag win. But they were pissed in that game. So this is a game that Carlton have got to come in and go, they're wounded, we're wounded. This is what we're about. This is what we're about. And it's a big challenge for the boys. And one, I hope that they are more than up for. But as we go into it, let's have a look. The first guy we're going to look at is Parker Starter. We talked about the centre bounces and the clearances, and Luke Parker is the main ingredient from here. Ranked very good for contested possessions, ground ball gets, score involvement, and total clearances. This guy here is an absolute gem of a footballer and someone that Carlton are going to have to look at with a beady eye. Now, I wouldn't say tag him, but he's top 20 for centre clearances and top 20 for contested possessions. He's going to be doing everything he can to get out of it. Incidentally, though, he's top 20 for turnovers and unforced turnovers. So Carlton know he's not going to really damage us per se by foot. It's the people he gets it to. It's going to be very similar to the Taylor Adams job that Kennedy had last week. That is what he's there for. Extracting the pill, being a menace. You've got to then see where he's going to go. And that's something that Taylor Adams, although he didn't impact the game in large parts, he did find a lot of the ball to his mates, to Goey and Tom Mitchell and players like that. And that's something that Carlton have got to be wary of here. A lot of work for the centre clearance boys. Golden. Well, we've played him once this year and people started putting money on this kid to win the Brownlow pre-season form, eh? But one of the top 3 players in the comp for inside 50s per game, top 7 for meters gained per game. This kid here can play football. He can football. And you can see there, inside 50s are linked. Centre clearance and score involvements are average. Ground ball gets, though he's a tough little bugger. And similar job here, really, to the job that Carlton did under Goey. This guy, when he gets the ball out of them clearances, he's going to hurt you. And it's going to be a real tough job. If he gets in and around it as well, he's not scared to get in that front foot. Carlton have got to watch him, because if he gets early touches, his output goes through the roof. And Carlton have got to be wary of this kid, because this kid can play football. He's a risk at the moment, is old Tom Hickey. But I want to talk about Hickey for a bit. Now, Hickey isn't known for his great output. As you can see, a very bog standard ruckman, right? He's a test for this game with concussion. What he does, though, right, is he makes it awkward. He really nullifies it. And this is going to be a big job for PeterNet, because both of them ain't exactly changing your life around the ground, right? Both of them ain't going to change your life. What they are going to do, though, is they stifle. They almost act as a blocker in that centre and the stoppage. They throw their weight around. They make it hard to get it. And you can see them ground ball gets are elite, which is a very important stat, an underrated one for a ruckman. And Carlton have got to be wary of that, because this guy here, as we said, Carlton are 3rd to touch the ball in the league from stoppage and clearances. Getting their physical hands to it, that stat is. Some player has got to get their hands in it first. This guy stops that, right? Which could be a good thing, because our centre clearance work on the whole, in the terms of generating anything, has been piss when we've had it. So maybe if they're scrapping for it is a good thing. But this is what he specialises in. And that is going to be an area where Carlton have got to get on top. Got to get on top should he play. The next guy is Handy Lloydie. And we know Carlton love a goal against off transition. And that is where Mr. Lloydie comes in. And as you can see why. This kid can play football. And he's not really a kid anymore. He's cracking on in his 30 at the end of the year, but still a bubba. Top 15 in the league for rebounds. Top 20 for effective disposal efficiency. As you can see, 85.4% elite kicking efficiency. 5.2 rebounds, very good. Score launches, 1.6, very good. Score involvement's a bit below. Elite meters gained. This guy can kill Carlton on the counter. And that is a big concern for the Blues, because they can be very wasteful with that. We like to target it, and it's a real interesting thing that of all the teams in the league, right, and just let this sink in, because this is an absolute phenomenal stat, I actually find. I think it's one of them stats that gets me excited. But Carlton have one of the least different goal scorers. We have 20 goal scorers. Only Brisbane have less than us on their list, where Sydney is the second highest, 24. And that's because of Carlton's obsession with targeting the same players. This is something that Carlton have got to really look at spreading the load, because when it becomes easy, what they lack in that intercept threat that Darcy Moore has, they've got this guy. They like to spoil first, bring it to ground, particularly with Francis and Blakey probably be doing the tall positions. They may bring in McLean or someone like that, but you suspect they'll go with what they know. This is a big risk for Carlton, because if the ball hits the deck here, this guy can cut apart you very quickly. It's like an iceberg in the North Atlantic, and you're a 1920s boat. Deadly duo. We know it's the SCG. We know it's the playground of the smalls. And the first one we're going to look at is Isaac Ooney. Pesky little high half forward when they play it, floating on the ball, the same as the other guy, Tom Papley. Both of them play that higher up the ground role than your traditional smalls. 5.2 marks, elite. Marks on the lead, 1.1, very good. Score involvements, very good, 5.4. Pressure acts, again, very good. Shots generated, 2.9. This guy here has averaged a goal a game. Top 6 in the league for tackles inside 50. He's a pressure magnet as well. He's not scared of doing that. He'll put Carlton's backline under the cosh. And for a team that really likes to play out of the back, this guy here will have a say should it go well. Carlton have got to look at some of the stats that they're generating and go, how do we improve these ones? How do we improve them ones? A big thing for me is Carlton are the third worst side at playing on from a kick-in, right? They are the 6th worst side from playing on from the mark. Carlton have got to get this ball out quickly with this guy, because if they set him in hidden little traps, waiting for that, putting the pressure on. Carlton have got to make sure that they utilise that ball out the back half very good. And once you get through him, you've got Mr. Tom Papley. Tom Papley, top 16 in the comp for total goals this year. We know he's a deadly little player. Doesn't mark as much, but look here. His ground ball gets and his work on the ground is incredible. Score involvement's very good. Marks on lead. He often runs out and gets in between the midfield and the half-back line. And he's kicking in there. The pressure acts, he's got his mate Heaney for this, but he generates 4 shots a game. And this kid can kick the ball. This is a problem for Carlton and one that they've got to look out for. The filler in. A little bit harsh on Blakey, but he's been very good this year as Nick Blakey. And I'm a big fan of what Nick Blakey brings to this. Now, he has been playing that more lockdown role this year because of injuries. And he's been quite successful at it. People forget about old Mr. Blakey that he can play the game, right? He can play the game. He's won 75% of his one-on-ones with the injuries down the back, which is a very good start for someone like him, naive in the position. But this guy, when he gets the ball, the 2 intercept marks, very good. He can hit targets. He's got a sweet peg on him. Score launches are elite. Rebound 50 is very good. Very good meters gained. And he's also not scared at his 196 frame to take the game on. He's fairly quick. So look out for Blakey. But who are the boys that are going to bring it back? Captain Blue himself. And for someone that's in the Blues at the minute, this guy's still playing pretty good football for me. Hasn't been his usual dominant self, but around where it counts, number 1 contested player in the comp, 6th for clearances, 18th for total tackles a game, 11th for score involvements from his position as well. Very important, but elite contested possessions and ground ball gets. Very good tackles, elite clearances, 6.9 score involvements. This is where we're looking this week. We're looking for Cripper to be the Crips we know and love, who's taking that first man. And that's been a big thing about Carlton this year, that around that thing, that third to get the hands on the ball, no one wants to take the contact and then release the ball. And that's what they did really well last year. Cripps and Kennedy and Hewitt were very good at taking the contact, drawing the second man in, which Collingwood did all the time, tackled in 2s. Cripps is big enough to hold him off. He got tackled a few times by 2s and was just delaying that handball away from a runner, because if there's 2 on you, it means there's 1 out somewhere. And that is something we're looking at Cripper this week. I want Cripper to go back to the basics. That's what I'm looking for this week. Be the muscle, play within yourself, and it would be nice if he slotted a little bit forward and had a bit of fun. This is another issue for Carlton. The 3 amigos, we're calling them. And when you see their stats, and we talked about the 20 different goal kickers, you'll see You saw the willingness of Collingwood, right? Last week, they targeted their smaller brigade 5 times each by the end of the game. And Carlton have got to try and get these guys into the game. You can see here, marks on lead for 2 players who are very like Bobby Hill, Jesse Motlop in what he does, who work high up the channels to help defensively. He ain't offloading that outlet ball. The ground ball gets very, very poor. The score involvements are okay. The pressure acts are very good. But the shots he's creating aren't good at all. 1.7. And this is something that we've got to get them involved in. But they've also got to get better at being in that position. Jesse Motlop, although you look at that, his pressure acts this year have got him top 10 total inside tackles inside 50. But he's got to output that scoreboard as well. You saw Heaney, he's tackling more like Motlop, but he's generating them shots. He's getting himself into position. He's getting himself them avenues to go. And that is something that he's got to look at, particularly his work rate offensively. Up next, Corey Durden. Corey Durden, another player that is inside the top 20 this year for tackles inside 50. Very good pressure acts, right? But again, marks of the lead 0.2. Ground balls, okay. He's getting better at it. Score involvements, I can live with that. And the shots there are getting there. But again, they've got to get inside 50. Last week, they were very guilty of not getting inside 50 quick enough, right? And when the ball's moving that slow, there is no excuse. But these 3 we're talking about here, they can win us a game. They can win us a game very quickly if they can get their fingers out, if they can get themselves into it. Durden and Motlop, for me, I know people slate them. They're doing 75% of the job, and it's a bit like the team. They are kind of like conducive with the team. They're doing 75% of their role. It's that 25 that's holding us back. And I'm looking for big games from at least 2 of the 3. Now, Matty always, you always have that. More like the Papley role, if you notice. 3 shots per game. He's ranking goals a game in the top 20. Score involvements 4.2. 2.6 ground ball gets. Marks on lead, you see, getting better. He's creating that avenue. He's creating that separation, which is really important from the contest. It's a big thing this week that we've got one of them. I think Carlton needs to convert Motlop into a Matty Owens and have 2 more offensive type players and then use Durden for his ability to come up and down the ground. I think that's where Carlton may be a little bit stagnant. And I think that comes from the lack of work rate with some certain half forwards in the Carlton team, why it's fabricated that way. And we've got a solution when we come to the team selection this week. Big man Mackay. Now, they're going to play Francis and Blakey down back. And the game is set up for Harry, in my opinion. I really do truly believe that Harry Mackay, it's set up for this guy. It's meant to be a bit cold this week at the SCG, but this guy ranks top 6th for total marks inside 50, 2nd in contested possessions, 7 for total marks. There is a real avenue here for him to get a goal because he's either going to play someone who's not really a key defender or a naff one, right? So the options are pretty good. And for Harry this week, Carlton have got to look at isolating them. I've got to look at isolating this guy, and I don't want him working hard up the wing. I'd love them to switch them round this week and give it to the high half forwards. Give it to TDK, should he come in. Give him that role and allow Harry to stay at that high half forward and then leave one of them in the goal square. You saw this last week. A lot of the times, Harry and Charlie were both the first kick, right? And then when they looked up, one of them might be the second kick. But the third kick, round the 50, you want one of these guys, and it was usually Durden, Motlop, someone that's not fit for purpose. You want this guy to be the third. This guy here, or Charlie. And that is going to be a big part of it. But I expect a big game. And should he have a big game, Carlton are well on our way to winning. And we talked about Carlton's ability to get it out, but their lack of run. And this guy here, for me, Sade, is a big answer for here. Still top 3 for bounces per game, 8th for intercepts per game, 11th for total intercepts. This guy here is everything to Carlton. And the sooner they can free him up and give him a bit more license to roam. It's interesting. There's some great footage in the first half of Doc pointing to this guy that he's made himself free. He's wanted the ball back. There's a few short kicks he does, and he's streamed past the ball carrier, and the ball carrier's ignored him, which says to me they're not following instruction, right? Because Sard is someone that follows instruction. And you look at his numbers. Very good rebound 50s, kicking efficiency, elite score launches, very good score involvements, very good meters gained, verging on the elite. Very important that someone frees this bloke up, because catching Sydney on the counter is very, very possible for the Blues. They are a good side, right? I'm not taking anything away from them, but they are struggling at the minute, Sydney. And Carlton should really be looking to maximise on this indecision that they're having at the minute. This indecision that they're having at the minute. And the guy who can do that, in all fairness, you're looking at him, right? Because at the moment, they're averaging about 14.2 points from against on D50 scores, right? Carlton at the moment average as a scoring side from the D50, they're averaging 15. So that is what Carlton have got to look for. Up in them numbers, and Sard is a big piece of the puzzle. Well, let's look at the team selection that I went with this week. And did I go with anything exciting? You know me, I like to change it up. And as it comes up on your screen there, I have gone with a very similar backline. I don't think that backline has changed, in my opinion, too much. I might be wrong, but I can't remember it changing. But we have gone with Nick Newman, we've gone with Whelan, and we've gone with Kemp. Now, I've dropped McGovern from the start. I do think that we need to look at that transitional defence. Sardi, Young, and Doc. I've gone Akers, Cripps, and Cottrell. You can see here, high half forward. We're gonna manufacture a high half forward here. We're gonna give Cripper and Walsh and a few others real swing through that half forward line. We've got Motlop on the pine, so we can swing him through there. We can swim always up there, which we like to do. Matt Kennedy can float through there. TDK on the other side, we're going to really try and exploit this height, but also free up Harry and Charlie not to work so deep in the wings and working them more aggressive. Always Durden and Kerno for obvious reasons. Contract boy, 4-year man, Pitternet, Chera, and Kennedy. On the pine, I've gone with Boyd. I want that slight of foot. We've gone Fisher again, another guy that can rotate in the half forward. And with Sydney, it's going to be tough in that. It's going to be tough in that contested, but it also gets free flowing as well. And I want Fisher there. Feel like he's had the couple of weeks in the VFL. He might have not blown the way the doors, but he has been fairly consistent with his output. McGovern keeps his position. Again, another intercept option for us, but also Carlton brought him back forward. I think a lead-up mark at the high half forward for him in a full game would be good. Motlop there. And might surprise you, I've gone Dow on the bench. So what I thought is we don't want to start him, evidently. Play him as a sub. Give him 20 minutes. Exploit the game. We've talked about their contested work. There's enough contested footballers there. Not many teams go with 4, right? Most teams go with 2 or 3, right? Bring him in. Give him a free-for-all. And you never know. He may go like Matt Cottrell. That freedom opens him up. That has been the preview. Let me know what your predictions are. Let me know what you think. Cheer hard, Bluebaggers. And I'll see you on the other side. Palm out.
I see you rolling up, Uber black Cadillac, high heel boots and a sexy body full of tats. Baby's bad, oh baby's hella bad.